Now, I've got Derek here with me, and we're going to just dig into Derek's story of hope. A bit about Derek's life. So, Derek, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Derek is my name, as you've heard. Clearly, you can hear I'm not local. Safa through and through. Hail from the eastern coastlines of South Africa. Durban was my hometown. Moved here in 2021 with my lovely wife, Han, and our son Daniel was born here at the end of 2021, so he's 3 now. I work up in Halezone. I'm a lecturer in an FE college, so I teach geography and environmental sciences to A level. That's pretty much my story. I've been at Wood Green since we arrived. We obviously, when we first arrived, tried a few different churches and then felt really at home here. Did a stint on the Isle of Man, but we'll dig onto that in a little bit. For the last 2 or so years, we've been here at Wood Green. Cool.
And so you're obviously a Christian now.
Yes.
Where did that start? Have you always been a Christian?
So I grew up in a Christian home. My sister, I think they probably watching all the way from SA, so hopefully you don't mind me waving at hi family. It's lovely to have you here with me. Yes, grew up in a Christian home. My sister at the age of 7 actually had it on her heart to be baptized, and I can remember clear as day her at 7 years old being baptized. And then watching my mom and my dad's journey as they grew closer with Jesus. It was always a part of my sort of family makeup and part of my walk of life. Now, obviously, as any human man would experience, male or female, the prodigal son, which is moving away from Jesus and then coming back to Jesus, like that story abounds. It's me in a nutshell. So, but always known who Jesus is.
So you've always known who he is. You've always been in that setting then. So was that your identity? Is that kind of who you would say you were?
Well, to start with, yes. As a youngster, I was very much trying to stay close to what was expected of a Christian, which kind of what I thought the expectation was. But I figured out fairly early on that I'm quite a competitive character, so I really like competing, and so sport and like anything. If it was a competition, I'd throw down and I'd like, let's go. Yeah. And that became an identity for me all the way through school. Trying to be second best was not good enough, that whether it was academics, whether it was on the sporting field, whether it was just a social gathering, just not winning was not good enough, and that was front and center. But that developed unhealthily into a fear of what people might think if I didn't stay good, as in like keep that level. So a fear of man abounded. I was very harsh. I had very unrealistic expectations for myself. Yeah. I don't know where they came from, but like I say, second place was not good enough.
Yeah. But you were pretty good, weren't you? You played at a high level?
Yes. It was never part of the plan. Once I had finished up with school, done my A-levels, our family moved to Ireland, and before I knew it, I was playing club cricket. And then I got picked up by like pretty much the Irish team. Was never played for the team, but like was training with them and playing a decent level of cricket, but never quite good enough, which you can imagine what that did between my own ears. I was like very harsh with myself.
I guess being in that environment makes you want to succeed even more.
But yes, I think crucial for me is the not being good enough thing became front and center. That was my motivation.
Okay.
And that's it's a dangerous place to be.
So what happened then as you sought to be good enough?
Well, the more I realized that I couldn't actually attain it, these unrealistic expectations, the more I figured out that there were ways and means of actually numbing the feeling of not being good enough. So once I'd finished up with the cricket side of things, went into music, and that didn't kind of work out, but you can imagine what music's like. It's a drummer in a band, so you can imagine misspent youth, what that looked like. I had an eyebrow ring, long hair, know it's hard to believe, but yes, I did. There was that stage, then went to university. I studied hard, graduated well, got a good job, couldn't stand the corporate life because I wasn't very good at it by my own standards. But I got married at that stage. You know, I was holding down a job. Everything seemed all lined up, but I was completely not satisfied, never good enough. So yeah, I think the longer that went on, the bad habits kicked in, and the one thing that got me was alcohol. I learned, having grown up in a Christian family, I never drank at school. Came to Ireland, and you can imagine this. They drink there. It's not only there. I'm not bashing like the Irish, but I'm just saying it's part of the culture. And for an inexperienced, very competitive person, that is also not good, because that's the competition you can't win. So, but for me, it became more of a, hey, I'm more than just enjoying this. I'm the last man standing. And it became more habitual to the point where I, in actual fact, had to attend rehab. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I spent 9 months in rehab. So it wasn't just a little, you know, I kind of made a mistake here. I made some pretty bad choices, and they were deliberate. You know, there's no denying it. I knew who Jesus was, and I still made those choices. And therein lies the hope, you know, which is special. That's the main thing that I would want to share, is that life throws you circumstances. Sometimes you will have an unexpected diagnosis, or you will lose someone unexpectedly, or life happens. And other times you will make poor choices. And ultimately, Jesus' grace is sufficient. Yeah. So.
And so where did the change come? You mentioned you were in rehab.
So the rehab that I went to in SA was a Christian-based one, and in a field in the middle of nowhere. I didn't hear this booming voice. I didn't hear a whisper. Didn't hear anything, but resoundingly, it didn't matter what I had done or what I could do. I knew without a fact that Jesus had paid for it all. And there was no judgment from him. The best way I can describe it is that like I had intercessory prayer while I was there, which is where people gather around you and pray for you. And I know that spiritual surgery took place. I know that something flipped in my heart there. It turned into something changed.
It's amazing. God can use moments.
Yes.
He doesn't always do that, does he?
No, not always. But in my experience, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And the freedom that I felt from that is, I can remember like it was yesterday. It was awesome. It was incredible.
And so from that moment, has it all been smooth sailing?
You'd think that it would be, but no. Like if I look at the last 3 years, becoming a new dad, trying to not adopt a new culture, but living in a country that I'm not familiar with, sounding different every time you open your mouth, just little things like that where you feel sometimes like a stranger. The worry of how you're going to provide for your family, your new family, those stresses and strains are still there. And yes, there are times in the last 3 years where it hasn't been all peaches and roses and life is just dandy. I immigrated my little family twice. Like I mentioned, we went to the Isle of Man because I'm a teacher. I got my first teaching role there. And so not once but twice we moved. And I figured out very quickly that I couldn't cope with the ethos of education in the secondary school environment. In the UK, and it's not only in the UK, but it's tough in certain schools. They're not all bad, that's what I'm saying, but certainly in what I experienced, I didn't manage. Now, you can imagine what that's like for family members who've supported you through your journey, seen the freedom, and then watch you go into a new exciting chapter, and then you're unemployed after immigrating twice with a 9-month-old son, and you're sitting on an island in the middle of the Irish Sea as a recovering alcoholic, it doesn't inspire hope, does it? But the church that we found there, they pulled alongside. And through their prayer and their support, we made it, you know. And despite all that, there was still hope. There was still, you know, opportunities for us. And obviously, I worry for Daniel, like putting him in school. Well, what's he going to experience? How am I going to look after him into the future? And yeah, there are times in the last couple of years where, despite the freedom I've experienced, I've been angry with Jesus. I've shouted with him in prayer and said I'm really frustrated with what's going on.
You can take that, right?
Yeah, and it's okay to do that, you know. But 10 years ago, I'd never done that because there was no freedom in understanding that it doesn't matter what I achieve, it doesn't matter what the future holds, it doesn't matter what I have or what I don't have. It's not coming with me, you know. I don't know what my relationship with Han or with Daniel looks like in heaven, but I know that they have a choice to make to get there. And my responsibility is like share Jesus and look forward to heaven.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, everything
has changed like the last 3 years.
Well, like I say, it's more of the more I spend time with Jesus, I'd say that's the big thing that's been the flip and the change. Okay. The Bible says in Romans 12:2, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and that's transformed. Renewing is a verb. It's a daily thing. It's not a do it once and you're fine. You've got to keep doing it, and that is very true for wherever you're at, whether you're in a very good place, whether you're not in a good place. You've got to check what is front and center as the God or as the most primal thing in your life. Like, what is your driving force? And if it's not Jesus, check. That's my take on it anyway. I read Ecclesiastes, which is a book in the Old Testament, and if you are familiar with it, you'll know it starts off with everything is meaningless. And if you're in a good place, it's kind of like, okay, I can take this. If you're in a bad place, it's like, yeah, everything is meaningless. This is dumb. Like, you look at the world around you and you think, this is silly, you know. The way we treat each other, what I'm experiencing, I can't afford a house, I can't afford a car, I don't get paid enough, the way I get treated at work, whatever. You're looking around at it going, this is meaningless. Not in a good way. Yeah. So I'd say what's changed in the last 3 years is the unending hope that Jesus is constantly there, and the second that you realign and put him front and center, everything is meaningless in the right way. And yeah, man, like, heaven is going to be awesome, but until that time, Jesus is front and center and everything else falls into place.
Yeah, I guess that's it, isn't it? Everything is meaningless without the God who gives it meaning.
Correct.
Yeah, which is where we find Jesus.
100%.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for your openness and your honesty. I think for all of us, that's really helpful to hear. For the people here who aren't Christians, who haven't found the hope in Jesus yet, if you could say one thing to them, what would you say?
It's a really good question. And what I'd say is not only for people who don't know Jesus, but for those who do. Pride is the enemy of a lot of things. And pride isn't necessarily like arrogance. Pride is, I need to have this thing met or this need satisfied, and I've got to earn it or work for it or fight for it. It's dangerous, that mentality, because the hope that Jesus offers is totally free, and it doesn't matter whether the world did it to you or whether you chose it yourself. He will, by grace, take you back and love you unconditionally and give you hope beyond anything you could ever experience. Like, certainly that's what I've felt. I've not felt the hope that I've felt from anything or anyone other than Jesus. So I would say check your pride and see what is replacing Jesus in your life.
That's a good question for all of us to keep thinking, isn't it, as well?
That's something that I would put down.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story so openly with us. A story of hope. I think we've definitely seen that. The hope in Jesus there.